My name is Fredrik Åkesson, representing Atlas Copco Road Construction Equipment, or as you might see in the products, the brand name Dynapack. Our part is a small part of Atlas Copco, and our focus is a rather small but very significant part of the infrastructure building as well, as we focus on compaction mainly. Atlas Copco is a general global company employing about 44,000 people. Was the last I saw. Probably changed since, because we bought a couple of other companies and so on. But that's a moving process, as with any other corporation. Talked about current and coming infrastructure projects. I will be focusing very much on our small part of that. Small, but as I said, from a quality perspective, rather significant. And I'll be throwing out a few statements. They are more true in some areas of the world than others, but as a general, I hope you'll agree to them with what insight you have, and hopefully they will bring us to another level sometime down the road as well. Compaction today, densification of road construction materials, whether they're unbound, such as soil, gravel, rockfill, or whether it's asphalt. It's a rather small part of the project cost, 2 to 4%, we normally say, but has 100% influence of the end result of a road. If compaction is not carried out in a proper way, the project will eventually fail, probably faster than it was designed to wear out. So it's a key part. That's our focus, to do that in the best possible way. Roller, in this case it's a soil compactor. It's also an asphalt compactor. It's typically the last piece of equipment to go on the material. So you think there'd be a lot of focus on the quality and the training of operators and so on. But in many cases it's considered some kind of necessary evil. Soil compaction, that's something you throw out at a subcontractor who may or may not know what they're doing. But they have a roller, they can roll back and forth, and that too many times satisfies the requirements, unfortunately. To me, that's a little bit like, you can have anyone build the house, but then you put a lot of focus on who paints the walls. The painting needs to look good, but if the structure is solid or not, we don't really know. It might work, it might not. To me, well, considering our equipment, we're trying to build the best possible equipment, and then it's not carried out all the way through the construction phase, which is kind of sad. It's often carried out by the least experienced person on the job site. Somebody's doing it today, tomorrow somebody else is doing it. Because that person might get bored, because in all honesty it's not the most stimulating or varied job in many occasions, but it can be. You can make that operator part of the quality control process, part of the design process even in some areas, which is the way we would like our machines to be utilized. Because they are also often underutilized. A roller might be working 2-3 days or 2-3 hours a day. And since the operator and we're putting pride in building a nice working environment, comfortable cab, climate control, vibration dampen and so on, so they rather stay in the cab than go out with a shovel and so on, which tends to a little bit of overcompaction. They're supposed to make perhaps 6 passes, but it's raining today, I don't want to go outside, I'll keep rolling so it looks like I'm busy, and that leads to overcompaction instead. So you're actually wasting fuel, wearing out the machine, damaging the materials, when you should actually be doing something else, or making an analysis of the work you've done before, because we have those possibilities in the machines today, where you can analyze, where you can measure, where you can work on the equipment. So, like I said, a few statements. They're probably more true in some areas than others, probably more true on soil compaction than on asphalt, but still, to raise the debate, it's often what we come across when you come to a job site. And talking about rollers themselves, this is guessing somewhere in Norway, late 70s, early 80s. That's what the rollers look like. Not as quiet, comfortable, environmentally friendly, or less environmentally poor as they are today. This is what we're offering right now. I think they're actually pretty much the same size, about a 15-ton machine, excellent for compaction of rock-fill materials and fairly thick layers and so on. But the conceptual development, as you can see, is pretty small. New colors, new materials, cleaner diesel engines, better working environment, but as a package, it's pretty much the same. We even got the same tread on the tires, probably because it couldn't be any better, but it's where we are right now. There are, of course, a lot of advances being made, but in my opinion, or in our opinion, maybe they're not being utilized to the full extent from the industry. And that means we've gone through development that is not really paying off. We sell them, so it pays off in an economical way, but maybe not in the fullest extent to the production quality that you could expect from it. Maybe this is the end result, which would be bad for our business, but in a sense, something to maybe look for. If it's just as quick as pull it out as a carpet, or maybe just roll it back in again, that would be an interesting solution, but maybe not quite realistic. What we could see, though, is adding more services to this, because the roller today, they're made in a lot of different countries by different manufacturers, but when you start getting below the covers, it looks pretty much the same. They do the same thing, they weigh the same, they have the same components, you can have two different engines. We all have to comply with all the same environmental regulations when it comes to emissions and so on. So it's a bit unfair to our designers, but you can compare it with a chair. I mean, you can sit on it, fine. And they can look different, you can have a different color, more or less comfortable, but it's pretty much a commodity. It's not that you have a very high level of innovation or an extreme performance leap that you go over one or other competitors. It's pretty much the same. It's more preference of service, how you get the machines, how you keep them running, what kind of spare parts you get, how well you know the salesman, what kind of perks you get around Christmas and so on. That's not very relevant in Sweden, but in some other countries we face that as well. But you can do so much more. I mean, we can use the roller to measure the area that was actually compacted instead of sending someone out with a stake to measure the corner points. We can do that today, actually. Document compaction, which we've been doing for close to 40 years. And in all honesty, the Nordic markets, Sweden, Norway, to some extent Finland, not really Denmark, Germany are fairly active in using the roller as a documentation tool. But that kind of ends once this section is handed over, fine, then you forget about that as well. Maybe you can control the final level, because as I mentioned, it's the last machine rolling over and it covers 100% of the area. Wherever you put material, you will also have the roller running and you can use that to measure the final level of that material. Slope, you can control that as well. Online monitoring of what's going on and how it's progressing and maybe what's remaining, what needs to be done, which means you can keep track of your production process. Well, if you have area and you have the level, well, then you can calculate the volume as well of the actual material being laid out. And this pretty much is possible today, but we don't want to limit ourselves to that. So what you can do then is, based on what you measure, you could use that as input for the design. It has been done, it's being done to some extent, but it could be utilized in a better way. Sort of adapting your design to the actual site conditions and not the site conditions from a geotechnical investigation that has a lot of gaps, where you with large intervals take a sample and you assume some kind of linear relationship from this sample to this sample. I think all of you know that nature is anything but linear. With the rollers we can pinpoint all the different variations in stiffness and materials, highlight the good sides, you can find the potential problem areas, and all of that can be addressed with adjustments in the design. You can increase, decrease layer thicknesses and so on to give you a nice even quality up top. And that's where we like our machines to be part of as well. You can bring it one step further. Based on the results from the initial measurements, from the designs, maybe you can make a maintenance prediction. How long is this going to last based on experience? If we have a problem, can you make a judgment in the process saying, well, this is the quality we achieve. We assume it's going to live this long, but if we do it a little bit better, maybe we can increase the life length by 20%. And meaning, if you can prove that, well, it could be difficult, but if you can make that assessment and make that initial investment with everything already in place, then that would be a huge benefit down the line as well. Remote controlled machines, fully possible. Autonomous machines is taking it one step further. Safety issues, but fully possible, I think, as well. If you just know what's going on and if you can enclose your working area. Data analysis and report generation, all the different various levels, you will have that as well as input for the design, for the maintenance prediction, and so on. That would be fully possible. And all of this could actually come back to the roller operator. So now it makes a little bit more sense to have more trained operators, much more aware of what their machines are actually capable of. And that can take all of this to a different level from us as machine suppliers. We can be part of this as well. With real-time monitoring, we can see what our machines do. We can help contractors or designers or whatever with the information that we gather from our machines around the world as well. So we'll tie ourselves into the process a little bit more. Today, we're little more than a supplier. A supplier to some of the construction companies, subcontractors, or to the rental companies. And that's where we basically end our responsibility in keeping the machines running. But we'd like to do more, to be more than just equipment, because that kind of takes a little bit of the fun away of the process. We deliver our stuff and then we see what it does and hopefully comes out with a good end result. But we'd like to be more part of that process. And hopefully, working in Road to Science and Infra Sweden, we can come closer to our customers, the academia, and come up with projects on that as well. So this is more than an ongoing project. This is more a pitch to get the thinking going and to show our ambition in this as well. Like I said, some kind of consultancy services where we can work on both efficiency, making sure the machines are utilized in an efficient way, and on a quality side, seeing that the machines perform as well as we know they can do, because that's part of the department that I'm working on. We're running practical testing, evaluating machine performance, both with machines with our colors and eventually some from other parts of the world as well, to see where we stand from that very small quality perspective. Maybe this is where we'll end up down the line. You have a more qualified engineer in the roller than managing the site, perhaps, or doing both in parallel. Because, as I said, we have a little bit of overcapacity in the roller, so we'll see where we end up. Okay, thanks for your attention. And any questions around that, welcome right now or later or sometime next year or wherever. Through Road to Science, you can always get a hold of me and get a hold of us in Atlas Copco as well. And even though we're divisionalized and work in different business areas, we do have connections to what we do in rock drilling, surface, underground, and so on. So hopefully Atlas Copco will have a connection to the new subway as well. We'll see about that.